Rebels, we get rebels status. When you say you have to let your
It's a government of Europe that has no interest in the future of this country. This is the microcosm of the larger society. This is where young men have the responsibility to provide the next best alternative of this country. And you are subjecting us to an environment where we struggle every day to acquire tertiary education. You are subjecting us to an environment where young people have to pay $50 a work to go to school, where if you're in laboratories, there is no access to quality facility. It is the government we elected, the government and the administration of the University of Liberia conspire against the students. And today we'll say, yeah, Mr. Weah is a failure. Mr. Weah has failed a student. We will rally concerted effort to make Weah one-term president. He is a complete contradiction. All along, he has parodied on mendacity, deception to the students. We will resist anything that has the propensity and audacity to stop more than 2,000 students from Igoya University.
The government know. A letter was written in deception. You did not even include it.
Have a party. Hush. As I speak to you, George Weah does not have a coalition. So hush. As I speak to you, he licking Prince Johnson's shoes and sending his lieutenants to me. So hush. As it stands right now, George Weah, as he is, does not know his political future. So hush. Because what we know, remember, I was your minister for information when $16 billion came about. I ain't talked yet, so hush. 25 million. I ain't talked yet, so hush. The death of the auditors. I ain't talked yet, so hush. The 30 million stimulus. I ain't talked yet, so hush. If they send you here to challenge me, I will not even see you say, look at my glasses. Because when I open up, they will have to run for cover. I'm using no glasses. Read my eyes. What I know.
The loudest person in the room is not necessarily the smartest.
Back off, man.
No, man, you back off. You little kid. Who are you to be telling people to back off?
I have a question for
explain Akaras? No, you can't even explain your own explaining.
I
You
read
can't
it.
even tell the difference between policies. No, let Akara tell the difference between policies, laws, rules, and implementation. He doesn't even know. He just sitting down to say, we the thieves in the house, we are the only one who make laws to empower ourselves. You know, a thief like you who got married in Paris, you're not going to overwhelm us with your consciousness. It's your own guilt that is allowing you to overtalk. It's a statutory body that have the right to put policies in place like the attorney is telling you. You'll be a lot smarter if you just listen. If you just listen, you'll be a lot smarter. Your main issue is you talk too much and you don't listen. What she's saying is explaining the difference between policies, laws, rules, and where they fit into each category. We all as Liberians have the right to challenge what we challenge. It doesn't mean that we are right.
Census in a state of chaos, in Tata, in ruins. I'm leaving Lagos in a situation that is very, very pitiful. Stanton, I'm going to say this again on record, that if you gave Wilmer Smith and the rest of the team at Lagos even up to January 15 to continue counting, they will not count half of the population of this country. They will not count half of the population of this country. Why do I say so? On the day of proclamation is the D-Day. It's the day you are supposed to count now less than 50%. If you miss out on it, the rest of the days are for callback. The Liberian people are tired already. They know that it was a fiasco. Nobody went to them. Everywhere on Census Day. As we speak today, people are even looking still for where they are assigned. People are even asking and demanding for the sitting fee before they go on the field. Nothing happening anywhere, Stanton. So this census is going to be a census of uselessness. The data is going to be useless, as the individuals conducting the census or heading the census are useless. There will be no reason and
when you say you have to let your you're
It's Wednesday. It's the 22nd day of February 2023. This is Punch TV. The program is Trending Issues. My name is Vanny Dix. The pleasure is mine to welcome you to this midweek presentation. Wheresoever you are, I'd like to say welcome. We are up to 6 o'clock. Coming up very shortly, we will express our thoughts on key issues ranging from all reports, audits that have been conducted by the GAC submitted to the office of President Weah, but he's yet to act upon those reports. The census report, bits and pieces of information coming up from the 2022 census report. The man who was second in charge predicted that the census would have been a fraud. And indeed, there have been many speculations as well in some quarters that this report would have been a skewed one. At 4:15, hopefully, we will be joined by the Director General of the National Commissions on Higher Education. There have been this call for recently between the Ministry of Education and the Commission on Higher Education. The Commission earlier announced a policy that those that will serve as presidents and vice presidents for academic affairs at various universities and colleges must possess a doctorate degree from an acclaimed accredited institution. But in no time, the MOE came up and said that policy is nullified. And so we'll have officials from the Commission on Higher Education to talk about that policy, and also the Dean for Business College at the State-run University of Liberia, Dr. Lester Tenney, will weigh in on the subject. Coming up at 5 o'clock this afternoon, District 4 Representative Ruth Sterling Swakoko Dennis. On yesterday, she abstained during the passage of the 2023 budget. She asserted that the government of Liberia, through some agent of President Weah, are attempting to use the 2023 budget as an instrument to finance the campaign of the CDC in the ensuing October elections. She raised a series of concerns why she abstained from the passage of the budget. One of those key issues have got to do with where she said lawmakers were not given adequate time to digest the instrument. She will be our guest at 5 o'clock. Deep into the subject. Why did she abstain? Many other reasons she will lay out for us. So wheresoever you are, my name is Vanitix. Welcome. This is Punch TV. The program is Trending Issues. We are up to 6 o'clock this evening. Lots and lots of things to talk about. Okay. So if you are there in the diaspora here in Liberia, kindly share the video this afternoon as we express our thought on a number of issues. So we would like to start off first with on Monday we had in studio a very key person at the level of the legislature, someone who chairs the Committee on Investment and Concession, Lofa County Representative Clarence Masakwe. Honorable Masakwe indicated and he revealed to the public that under the stewardship of President George Weah, at least he can recall that 15 audit reports have been submitted to the Office of the President for actions. Over the last several years, President Weah has refused, in my words, deliberately to take actions on those reports that have been submitted to his office by the legislators. So we have anti-graft institutions, the GAC, the LACC being the prominent ones. These institutions are supported with taxpayers' finances to uncover issues of graft, to uncover issues of abuse of state resources, and to even prevent them as well from occurring. So they are not only there to uncover these things, but they are there to prevent them. This is why at the level of the LACC, you have a department there that is responsible for prevention of corruption. So how the process works, the GAC will launch investigation into issues of improprieties. And then when the investigation shall have been conducted, findings and recommendation from that investigation is onward submitted to members of the legislature for their own review. When the members of that body shall have done their own due diligence to the audit reports that are submitted to them by the GAC, the findings and recommendations are submitted to the Office of the President to take actions. So President Weah have got a very key role in fighting corruption, we should say. So when that report or reports have been submitted to the Office of the President, it is expected that he now will work through the Ministry of Justice to ensure that court cases are now brought into play. Prosecution is brought into play. But when you have a leader that has no interest in the fight against corruption, those are the kind of leaders that will have audit reports. We're talking about 15 audit reports where taxpayers' monies are said to be stolen. The lawmakers, we're talking about millions of dollars in those audit reports. Conducted, finished, submitted to President Weah to take actions. Over the last several years, when the president speaks to the Liberian people through the State of Nation address, we only hear what constitutes rhetoric, in my view. Because when you are saying one thing and you lack the political will to take actions, it simply means that's rhetoric. So the president has refused to take actions to ensure that taxpayers' monies, the Liberian people money that are being stolen, will be accounted for. This tells you, and how possible, another point of view is how possible would President Weah do that? Because there is a likelihood that he himself is going to be caught in the web of corruption. It is very likely, because this man who had gone completely bankrupt in a space of 5 to 6 years' time, have been able to amass wealth beyond the imagination of any reasonable person. This is one reason why the GAC will conduct audits, submit the audit report to members of the legislature, who in turn subsequently make submission of that report to the president, and he refuses to act upon those reports. Thus, that shows that President Weah is serious about the fight against corruption? Absolutely. He's not serious about that. So the president has failed in that light. We are talking about millions of dollars being stolen by state actors under the watch of President Weah, who has repeatedly told the Liberian people that we're fighting corruption. You can be serious about that. And when the lawmaker made that revelation, I was like, are you serious? In a society where people cannot have better medical care, in a society where people are going to bed hungry, and the president will refuse to take audit reports that is indicating that people are stealing state resources? Are you serious about that? And this is the man that is running for a second term. When you say these things, people think you are being political. But what about the objectivity of it? Should any leader who is serious about fighting corruption sit and watch 15 audit reports that are revealing gross stealing in government, to watch those reports and decides to take no action? This speaks volume that the president himself and those within his circle are also individuals who are likely involved in these syndicates. These syndicates that are plunging the society into a state where living condition has become very appalling. Very, very appalling. And yet, the president refuses to take action. We'll talk about this, the other reports that President Weah refuses to take action upon. And like I indicated, also the Census 2022 report, bits and pieces of that report are being released in the public space. From the inception of the report, we all had long predicted that this report would have been a fraudulent one. The report would not have provided the right information about the population in this country, because there were many indicators, many indications that we saw and knew that this report would have been a made-up one. And this is why actors in the opposition have got to be very sensitive to how the Elections Commission is proceeding. Nobody needs to tell you that it is very possible that census report, census figure can be used to manipulate issues when it comes to election. That is a very elementary understanding that everyone knows. Where if I hope, Cherry, you can bring the chart on the screen while we trying to get Dr. Lester Tenney and the folks from the Commission on Higher Education. So for those of you who are watching the screen right now, the data that is before you, Grand Crew County, according to 2008 census report, it says there were 57,913 people in Grand Crew County. In the 2022 census report, you have 109,342 persons that are said to be residing in Grand Crew County. This is telling you that between 2008 to 2022, Grand Crew has experienced a population explosion of 51,429 people in Grand Crew County. So between 2008 to 2002, that's 2022, Grand Crew has experienced a massive population explosion of 429 people in Grand Crew. Let's come to River G County. In 2008, the census report says there were 66,789 people in River G. In 2022, census report is now telling us there are 124,653 people now residing in Grand River, that's River G County. Thus indicating that River G between 2008 to 2022 have experienced a population growth of 91,434 people. So the chart is on the screen. For those of you who are watching can see it. Why are we showing this? And we would indulge the expertise of those that have understanding in the issues of census and that of officials from the health ministry to really come outside and give us a better understanding as to the possibility of this population explosion over the last few years in these counties. So, yeah, you can get out of the screen. So we need officials from the health ministry and folks from those who have the expertise to tell us the possibilities and what are the indicators that have been driving this growth in these counties, because we are very aware that there is a possibility that this government of President Weah, that I have no confidence in being a sincere one, is very possible that this government will manipulate this result to indicate an explosion of population in those counties that are considered the stronghold of the Congress for Democratic Change. And this is why we need people like Alex William and other people who are understanding on these issues to tell us the likelihood, the possibilities, the propelling factors that have been responsible for these things. Health ministry officials as well need to tell us these counties where people are finding it challenging concerning finding their daily bread. People are finding it challenging concerning health issues, but yet they have experienced this kind of massive population explosion over the space of time. And we know very well that when a government decides to cheat, these are some of the instruments that they will use. They start to inflate figures in the census document in those counties that are considered their strongholds. In those counties that are considered their strongholds, you see the government will start to inflate the figures in those counties, and in subsequent time, you find wherein the Elections Commission now will be used as a stooge in that light to accomplish the aim, the devilish aim of the government. And this is what, like I'm saying, officials of those in opposition have got to be proactive in holding the feet of the Elections Commission, especially when it comes to cleaning up the voter roll and ensuring that international partners like UNICEF, the UNDP, that is a key funding partner to the conduct of census in Liberia, we need to call their attention to say, hey, we need your expertise to tell us. We have some doubt on the explosions that we've seen, population growth in these counties. Are they genuine figures that the government is reporting to us? What are the factors that are informing these figures that we are seeing? Because we know very well that this government of President Weah will go at any length, to do the unspeakable thing to ensure that we have a second chance, especially in the face of the rising unpopularity due to the appalling performance of the CDC government. And so on the census report, we want to indulge the involvement of the UNDP and other acclaimed international partners to say, hey, we're begging you people, we don't trust some of these figures that are coming up, and we want you to tell us from an informed position. You have the expertise. Are these figures really genuine for us to understand? We'll keep talking about these things, but let us now bring Dr. Lester Tenney on the screen to have him quickly. I'm hoping that we can Dr. Tenney is I'm hoping we can have Dr. Tenney on the line to Dr. Tenny. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing excellently okay, Chief. And you, how you doing this afternoon?
Well, I'm in traffic, but I'm okay.
Okay. So, without much time to waste, we want to start off quickly with you. What is your view on the latest, what seemed to be some level of scuffle between the Ministry of Education and that of the Commission on Higher Education? You are a dean at the State-run university. Since the policy pronouncement by the Commission, what has been on this pronouncement?
Well, before I give my my opinion, let me educate the public on some of the statistical processes that occur.
Can you help us to adjust the camera a little bit so the viewers can see you? Okay,
I
on the
didn't
dashboard.
put in my face, my man.
Yeah,
My
but
face
it is. Okay, boss man,
so
go ahead.
let me address some of the issues surrounding the figures coming out of the census. The 2008 census gave you a growth rate of 2.4%, the growth rate of the population. And as an economist, I rely on data for any form of analysis. If you took the population from 2008 to 2010 and subject it to a growth rate of 2.4%, and from 2008 to 2022, which is 5 years, and subject that number to 1.2%, because half of 2.4% is 1.2. I believe that the figures coming out of Legis will be consistent with the projection made in 2008, holding other factors constant. Holding other factors constant means holding life expectancy, holding well.
The internet is getting a little messy, and I'm.
Hello.
Yeah, let's get you. The internet was getting messy.
Yeah, so the projected numbers from the 2008 census is consistent with what Legis result presented today is.
Your camera has shifted again.
You can see me now.
Yeah, I can
what's
see
up
you.
with my phone? So the point I'm stressing is we should not outrightly discount, we should not outrightly criticize the result without having a reliance on what the data says. Liberia population was expected to be around 6.2, 6.3 million around this time.
That projection is coming from where?
Given the projected growth rate of the population from 2008, that the Liberian population was growing at a rate of 2.4%. 10 years forward, which is the attributed time for the conduct of a subsequent census, the population will have increased by a percentage of 2.4%. From 2018 to now is 5 years. It means that it will have increased by 1.2%, which is half of the 2.4.
Okay. So Dr. Tenny.
Yes.
With all of the irregularities that characterize the conduct of the census, right, and a very key person that headed the second position at Legis was very frantic. He was very emphatic when he said there are a number of irregularities that are going to underpin the credible statistics that will come out. And we know when it comes to census report, there are two issues that you look at: credibility and accuracy of the report.
So when you speak of credibility, you are referring to two different situations.
Sure.
The methodology used and the reality on the ground. There could be some challenges when it comes to some of the methodologies approach used. There could be some challenges relative to the conduct of the process. I am speaking to the statistics and not the process.
Yeah, but the process influences the statistics. The process is what influences the statistics. That's my point.
And I'm speaking to the process that was held 2008 and the outcome of that process.
Okay.
I'm not speaking to the recent process because I am not aware of the circumstances. I do know there were some challenges. I'm speaking to the numbers, to the data that came from 2008 and the subsequent projection that was made.
Okay.
So if you subject the population of 2008 to 3.2, 3.6%, 3.6 means in 10 years time, the population will grow at 2.4. And from 2018 to now is 5 years. It means half of that 2.4, which is 1.2. The total percentage is 3.6. If you do the calculation of the population at 2008 and subject it to 3.6%, I believe that the current figure is consistent. I am not an authority to tell you how and why that figure will be met. I'm just giving you the statistical breakdown and how that figure was obtained. It is consistent.
Okay, so I understand.
I don't want to delve into the processes because I cannot speak about any process that I am not a part of. However, in terms of the numbers given, it is consistent with the projection. Now, let us go to what we're supposed to talk. That's all I can say for now.
Okay. So now the issue now at hand is the national that's the Commission on Higher Education came up with this policy that before you serve as president of any university or college, you have to have a doctorate degree. But then the Ministry of Education came up and said that policy is nullified. What is your position on this subject?
So first of all, we need to understand what is the role of the National Commission of Higher Education. We need to understand. Okay, tell them. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
We need to understand the intent of the policy, but we also need to understand the ramification arising from the implementation of those policies. I am and will always be an advocate of a higher standard in our educational system. I will always support any policy that tend to upgrade or create a higher platform for people who are teaching our children. The National Commission on Higher Education came up with a very good pronouncement that those who will be president and those who will be vice president for academic affairs should hold a terminal degree. My point of diversion is simple. We are looking at 60 accredited institutions of higher learning in this country, accredited by the National Higher Commission of Education. National Commission on Higher Education. 60. 60.
Wow.
It means that we must have at least 120 terminal degree holder.
Yeah,
PhD,
to occupy those two positions.
So that those institutions can become functional. My problem is, do we have a database? Do we have any form of data to know the actual educational strength of the country? Policies are not meant or are not carved because they are suitable. They must be carved based on the prevailing circumstances in an environment, whether the country or whatever environment. My point of disappointment is has the National Commission on Higher Education conduct any form of survey that will know exactly how many terminal degree this country have? Look at what is unfolding in the academic sector of the CACC. It is shocking enough to know that most of the people who have professed, can you hear me?
I'm getting you.
Most of those who have professed to be PhD holders are now being nabbed because of fraudulent degrees. The question is, we want to have an objective of sanitizing the educational sector, but what is the vehicle we are using to drive these policies? Have we built a critical?
Are you therefore suggesting that the National Commission on Higher Education should slow down on this policy?
What I think is that there should be a period of transition.
Okay.
Because some of the institutions you are referring to are private-based or faith-based institutions. Of course, because they are profit-driven, they must be given the opportunity to recruit those from outside the country if we do not have the existing capacity.
But the first thing, why did we allow that in the first place? Why should you allow someone with honorary degree to serve as president of a university, knowing fully well that an honorary degree doesn't qualify, doesn't merit you to saying that was a terminal degree?
So then the question is, it seems to be that there is a loophole or
in the system,
a crack in the National Commission, because those institutions did not come out openly to operate. They must have accreditation. And there are conditions set by the National Commission on Education that before you can operate a tertiary institution, your president and your vice president for academic affairs must hold a PhD. Now, the question is, these are institutions that have been accredited by the very National Commission on Higher Education.
Yeah.
So the process of due diligence was ignored or was compromised.
Okay.
My point is, are we in a position to shut down these schools who do not meet the necessary requirement because we cannot find people with PhD for those two positions? What becomes of our students?
So many the action by the Ministry of Education is justified.
The action by the Ministry of Education, I will come to that. I'm talking at the National Commission on Higher Education position.
Yeah.
My position is we need a phased transitional approach.
Okay.
You need to send a circular out that given the precarious state of our educational system, we need to upgrade or set the standard high. Within a period of this time, we expect all tertiary institutions to have these positions filled in by these people who have terminal degree.
So
wherever they will recruit them, how they will recruit them, where they will recruit them from should not be the commissioner problem. The commissioner problem should ensure that they must be recruited. And give them a reasonable period of time. The reasonable period of time will afford them to look outside if they cannot have proper PhD holder in Liberia to look outside to bring in people to fill in the position. Because we need these people to fill in this position because the quality of our education is highly questionable.
Yes.
But we cannot act spontaneously because of impulse. We must approach things with wisdom. Because you can close those schools, but are you in a position to curtail the protest from these students? Do you have the capacity to mitigate the massive closure of schools? Because between you and myself, Vanny, I'm not sure whether we even have good 50 PhD holders who have earned PhD in this country. The way people are being nabbed with fake degree, it worries me. It worries me that look like something wrong here. People here who have been purporting to be doctors are fake. Until that process can be validated, until they can be logged in as legitimate terminal degrees, we need to. What is it? On the phone. Until the process can be we need data to inform policy.
Okay.
So the first thing I think the National Commission should do is conduct a nationwide credential audit.
Okay.
Have a database of the different category of people who are teaching.
Okay.
Then you will be able to make an informed decision as to the current status of our education system. Suggests that in Liberia we have 50 PhD. So it does not make sense to say president, vice president must be PhD because we need 120. Because we have accredited 60 institutions. Multiply that by 2 is 120 PhD. So even if we have to enforce it, we have to give the institution time to recruit from outside.
Okay.
The preparation, recruitment, the acceptance, the package, all of those things must be considered before you bring in people from outside to be here.
Okay.
The preparation stage will not be more than or less than 6 months. So my point is, we need to have an approach that will not victimize our students, not to discredit the work of the predecessors of the higher commission, so that we maintain an environment of a not chaotic environment. That is my point of diversion, because there is a senior national commission that have accredited this institution. There should have been due diligence conducted to ensure that those we are accrediting have met the necessary requirement.
Okay.
It was not done, and we do not hold the current leadership responsible, but we do not also blame the previous, because government is continuity.
Dr. Tenney, this issue, issue where we see people most time, you go to maybe to just serve as a keynote speaker, and then an honorary degree is conferred upon you. In no time, you see the person also running to go and. Does it mean now we should stop the conferment of honorary degree on people?
You see, the purpose of the honoris causa is not the amount of donation you pledge to these schools. It is based on your.
I hope we could get that word coming from you, but the internet will not afford us. And it's coming from your end. Yeah.
Hello?
There was a
professional work. The professional work that an individual has conducted over a period of time can be recognized, and a conferrer of the honoris causa is given or presented.
Yeah.
But we are abusing the intent of the honoris causa. We are abusing it. Most of those with the honoris causa, they now think that they have terminal degree to go and apply to teach.
Yeah.
They make the classroom as a hustle ground, and they are not even ashamed to call themselves doctor.
Yeah.
That is not an academic degree. It is
at all.
It is an honorary degree. It is a conferred honorary degree based on the number of work you have done.
Yeah,
it does not grant you permission to teach.
Yeah, in some instances, there are some institutions that ask you not to use that title when you are dealing with other people, unless when you are dealing with them.
Precisely, that is a rule.
Yeah.
More besides, there are group of people who sit in Monrovia and apply to some school somewhere around to do online program.
Okay.
I have no problem with online degree because the world is graduating to the visual platform. But the online degree is a professional-based degree and not an academic degree.
Okay.
Even those who have earned online degree cannot teach in those universities that are giving online degree because it is a professional degree. It is not an academic degree.
Okay.
So those online PhD in those legitimate accredited institutions are valid, but they are not valid for any educational system globally. They can only be used for a professional environment. They are valid, provided they are given by accredited institution. But it cannot be used to teach.
Okay. Dr. Tenney, at the level of dean, the business college at the state-run UL, it means you interact with other folks also who claim to have such status. What is your reading regarding output? I'm talking about the practical aspect. What is your reading regarding some of the output you see out there?
Well, when I became dean honestly, the first thing I looked for was my faculty status.
Okay.
And from this my second semester as a dean, I kicked 6 people out of my all of my college. 6.
Okay.
Because I was not convinced that the papers they presented could afford them the opportunity to teach in my college.
Okay.
Fortunately, none of them made any form of resistance because they knew where I was going. and they quietly left. They quietly left.
No protest.
There was one who came and purported to have done something in my college in one of my departments, and they never had any paper for that. I quietly kicked him out, and he never raised any contention because you can, before I make decision, I must have done my due diligence. So this is a situation that is endemic in our educational system. It is all over the place. Even at the University of Liberia, there are people who are allegedly holding terminal degree when they should not, or they do not have it. But the only way to bring those people to book is to conduct a credential audit. And only an independent body will be in a position to conduct a credible credential audit, because if we use the people from the same system, most of those who may be conducting a credential audit are not even legitimate degree holder. So the likelihood to compromise is high. Bring in an independent assessor, bring in an independent quality assurance specialist, let them conduct a nationwide credential audit. Let people who have professed to be having in possession this degree and that degree, let them avail themselves to the credential. Because as a matter of fact, if you say you want to school, you'll not be afraid for people to audit you anyway. Only those who knew that they printed a document in their home will have resistance. But if you have gone to school, you will have no problem with the issue of credential audit. Look at the CACC. These are young men who risk their life to do a job that the National Commission on Higher Education should be doing. Most of those that today we have respect for to be doctors and all those kind of things, only today through the intervention of the CACC that we get into understanding that, but these people are fake. Though it is not an authoritative, but it is a registered body. But that should be the job of the National Commission on Higher Education. One of the
recommendations you proffered that has to do with folks from outside to come and get involved in the system. It's a good recommendation. But I'm looking at if these institutions are willing to underwrite the cost. To bring someone from outside, you know what it means. Aside from the remuneration, we talk about the accommodation, the stay of that person in country is going to cost a lot. Are these institutions going to be prepared to do that?
So if you look at the salary structure of a PhD holder in India, for example, they earn less than $500 in India. They earn less than $500. Most of these fake credentialists or people who are purporting to be terminal degree holder earn not less than 2005.
2005.
Earn not less than that. And these are people who are receiving free money on the basis of questionable credential. So, but my problem is we need a transitional approach. You can't go in there today and take a man from the class and say, "Come, I offer you 1,500 because you're making 500 a year." There must be, these are professional people. They must be given prior information notice. They must write that.
It takes time. I do agree with you. It takes time. It takes time.
Yeah, so I think that is my only point of diversion, but I believe the policy should be upheld. It is in the right direction, only that the implementation time is a bit chaotic.
It's too fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Tenney, before we take leave of you. Are there any other things you would like to say to the public? Any other information within this field?
Well, Liberia is in an election year. I believe that our people can only make a valid decision if they register to vote.
Okay.
Whether you want to keep the regime or you want to remove the regime, the only way that can be validated unless you register to vote. So we are calling on all our Liberian people, whether you come from which political, ideological background, to register and create a space for you to vote, because it is your vote that will determine what happens 6 years after October 10.
Okay. Okay.
When we reach to the stage of who you will vote for, we all will choose our side. But before you make that decision, you must have an instrument that validates that you can vote, because your vote determines you, myself, and everybody who lives in this country's future. So let me encourage all of our people to register. Ensure that you keep your registration. Don't let nobody tell you bring your registration card, let me keep it. You are responsible enough to keep your registration card, and ensure that you have a place October 10 or whatever day they will call the election day.
October 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Dr. Tenney, thank you so much for always accepting to talk to the Liberian people.
You're welcome.
Thank you. He's Dr. Lester Tenney, Dean of the Business College at the University of Liberia, and also a stalwart of the Coalition for Democratic Change. We have been talking issues surrounding the latest policy pronouncement that was issued by the National Commission on Higher Education. I think that was on the 10th of this month that the commission issued a policy pronouncement that the presidents and vice presidents for academic affairs at all universities and colleges must possess a doctorate degree. But that pronouncement was met with stiff resistance by the Minister of Education, Dr. Ansu Soni, who said that earlier decision by the commission is null and void, and so no one should heed to that pronouncement that was made. But then we also thought to solicit his input on that. But I believe very frankly that in no society should someone that possesses honorary degree pose as the president of a university. An honorary degree is different from a terminal degree. A terminal degree means you sat and obtain knowledge that qualifies you to do a certain work in that field. Honorary degree, like he stated, is only given to you based on your level of contribution you've been making either to the university or contribution in a particular aspect. And so people decide to award you that degree. That doesn't mean you should go and say, I get doctorate degree here and there. No, you have not qualified for that. So that's why I was saying some institution will tell you, don't go and tell people out there that you are a doctorate degree holder, but rather when you are communicating, you are engaging us, that's when you put that title on yourself. But when you are doing business with the public, you don't have to do that because you did not sit in class to acquire the requisite information or skill and knowledge to compare yourself with someone who went studying for years. So that should not happen. And like he indicated, it tells you that there is a loophole in the system. You can accredit the institution to run as a higher institution of learning. Then after some time, you come back and say, people that occupy no position, that don't have doctorate degree, they should give the way. It doesn't happen at the speed of light. Such a policy have got to be implemented in phases. It has to be based on a time frame that you transition, like he indicated, from one time to the other. You have to give those universities time as well to recruit people, whether from within or outside. They have to secure the finance as well to make sure that those people that they will be bringing on board are paid and accommodated for in the country, because most of those folks are going to come from outside. So you have to be mindful of that as well. We were also talking earlier on about the census report. Dr. Tenney thought it wise to weigh in on what we were saying, but he came from a different angle when he said he's looking at statistics here and there. But I told him that the processes leading to the finality of the census report. If those processes were characterized by fraud, irregularities, it means we are going to question the report that is going to come out. So the charge from that report or those processes, we're going to question that. So like I was saying also, the opposition have got to be very mindful about that. We are doing everything we can now to connect with our District 4 representative, Madam Swakoko Dennis. Yesterday on Tuesday, at the passage of the 2023 budget, Madam Dennis and Yeke Koluba did oppose the passage of the budget on grounds that, one, they were not given ample time to digest the document. They did not analyze the document right. Secondly, she said that monies were being apportioned to institutions that do not exist. Meaning you go in the budget and say, School John Brown, we put in 50,000 there for you. Only to go and investigate, they don't get any School John Brown in whatsoever county. And then one of the key things she raised was that Ministry of Education, having been receiving a budget within 1.something million over the last 5 to 6 years, election year, Ministry of Education budget just jumped to around $8 million. What are you telling the people? And we have said this. There are officials in the legislature who have been indicating to us that this government under President Weah, one of the medium through which they are using to steal state resources is the national budget. You just go and put money there for the minister of gender and say this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but that money purposely is spent for a different purpose for either the president or the campaign of the CDC. And that's why she raised one of her contention was that, hey, election is just around the corner. Why are we seeing the budgetary allotment of these people skyrocketing in no time? You need to explain to us. And so this is what the people are doing. Let us see if we can connect with her now. There were many issues that Madam Swakoko raised, and she said the 2023 budget that has been passed is not going to reflect the views and aspirations of the Liberian people. She indicated issues surrounding where institutions that should be receiving the kind of support they should receive for growth and development, they are not receiving them. And so we will hear from the House's mouth on some of the issues that were raised on yesterday at the Capitol building. Okay, let me see. Great. Let me see. Hoping that she will join us very shortly on the line for her to also say some of the things that we are saying here, because those were the contentious issues that were raised yesterday by Madam Swakoko Dennis and Yeke Koluba, and they decided to abstain from the passage of the budget. Hey, the budget is the single most important policy document Okay, so Madam Swakoko Dennis, sorry, I was talking with her to connect with us in no time so we can have this interview done. The budget is the single most important document upon which the lives of everyone hung upon. So this is why we have got to be very, very cognizant and mindful as to how state actors are executing the national budget. So you have elections just around the corner, and then you start sending money to institutions. You start increasing their money in no time. What are you telling the Liberian people that you won't do? Meaning now you won't use the budget as the CDC budget. That was the concern raised yesterday by Madam Swakoko Dennis, that this is not a CDC budget. This is not a budget to finance the campaign of President Weah. and so on. Yesterday, she and Yeke Koluba resisted, abstained, and opposed being a signatory to that budget. I hope we can be checking on the screen to see if Madam Swakuku is backstage with us. So, yes, there where we stand. Elections are just around the corner. We will not appreciate the budget being used as a tool by this government to facilitate the campaign of President George Weah. We have been reliably told by folks within the legislature that this budget over the last space of time under President Weah, it as an instrument, putting more there are any up and reportedly of the and his cronies. Those who come with a very narrow mind of thinking that refuse at every point in time to be objective in their thought will want to characterize you as being subjective. But this is where we stand, and we must do everything we can to be on the right side of history by making sure that when these things are being done, we bring them to the attention of the Liberian people, and that people should be aware about these things. What kind of president is serious about fighting corruption? Now we get 15 audit reports on his desk, but he refuses to add upon those reports. When those reports are revealing that taxpayers' monies are being squandered, that folks in the government are stealing money broad daylight, and President Weah refuses to do anything about such. And yet, when he takes to the podium, he says to the Liberian people in his rhetoric stone that we are fighting corruption. Corruption is not fought in the mouth. It is fought based on the teeth that those integrity institutions have got to bite folks that are stealing state resources. You don't say we're fighting corruption in the mouth. People will see the action if the president is really serious about fighting corruption. People will see the action. People will see the action of the president and know that he's fighting corruption. And one reason why we always place this issue of corruption under the spotlight is because it is the biggest impediment to the forward march of our country. In other countries, they will tell you the challenges that they are being confronted with that are underpinning in those countries. But in Liberia, the things that are impeding development in our country is the fact that those that we've entrusted with public offices, they go there with a very devilish intention of taking state resources and using it for personal benefit. Imagine at the level of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there was a point in time, let me reveal this to the public. There was a point in time that a 12-man delegation from Qatar, those people had come to Liberia to hold bilateral or a business meeting with the Liberian government that would have seen exchanges that would have resulted to some level of dividends, economic dividends. But those people, when they entered the conference room of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the air conditioner, the AC in the minister's conference room had been down for several weeks running. And so when they entered the conference room, though white people from Qatar couldn't stay in the conference room because there was no ventilation. There was no air condition that was functioning in the place. They had to be putting their heads all through the window for air. And in no time, they had to leave. It was Nathaniel McGill, at the time Minister of State, who was informed about the situation that a Qatari delegation had come to a meeting with the government, but the Minister of Foreign Affairs conference room was down with AC, and so the people were leaving. So McGill immediately had to make sure that the meeting was convened in the C. Cecil Dennis Auditorium. So those folks had to be begged to stay, and the meeting was convened in the C. Cecil Dennis Auditorium. But if you went to the Minister of Foreign Affairs home, that is someone who has scores of AC. His children got it all in their rooms. But in government era, it was not functioning. So Madam Swakoko Dennis, you can put her on the screen while you play the SF from yesterday. Madam Swakoko Dennis has joined us now. Before we bring her live, we'll play the exchanges on yesterday at the Capitol building, where she was robustly engaging her colleagues. Thank you, wheresoever you are. We've been joined by the face of Montserrat County District 4. She's the face of that district. She's there this afternoon to talk about the exchanges we saw in the footage that was played for you very recently. On yesterday, Madam Swakoko Dennis and I'm told also Honorable Yeke Koluba were two individuals that abstained from the passage of the 2023 budget. We have invited her to state some of the fundamental reasons for which she abstained from the passage of that very consequential national document. Madam Swakoko Dennis, the pleasure is mine, and I would like to welcome you to Punch TV. This is Trendy Issue. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Good evening to you, and good evening to the distinguished listeners out there. Am I loud enough?
Okay. Yeah, you. Please come again.
Am I clear? Am I loud enough? Am I clear?
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. So
yesterday,
answer your question.
Yesterday, you indicated that for the last several years that you've been at the Capitol building, you have always seen a problem with the national budget. I wanted to start off on that note. What have been some of the problems you've identified, whether the passage of the budget, the processes to the passage? What have been some of the issues you've been having?
Okay, so like I said to you, maybe because yesterday was the last day, so a lot of people are elevating the topic, but it's something from year one we have been advocating, and we have been standing very tall, and we've been very loud about that. The national budget, as you see, this is a copy of the national budget. This is the hard copy. It is also online. So this budget is one of the most important documents here at the Capitol, and for any country, this is one of the most important document. So to be a lawmaker and you cannot go through this budget, you don't have the opportunity to analyze the budget, to debate the budget, to correct discrepancy in the budget. It is disservice to the office as a representative. It is also a disservice to the public. So there are a lot of things that go on in the national budget. And luckily, one of the things that supported the argument was that a lawmaker from Bong County said there was a school or hospital in the national budget that received an allocation of 200,000, but that school or hospital, it does not exist. And that was something very grave. I think it's on open record. That was something very grave in the budget. Could it be a typographical error? Could it be an intentional error? So that's why this national document called the draft budget, that's why it needs a lot of time. It needs analysis. Previously, I have sent a communication to the House of Representatives, and that communication is still stuck with the Ways and Means Committee. And that communication was requesting budget performance report. It was requesting the budget auditing report. It was requesting fiscal deficiency report or so. It will surprise you and many. National budgets are not discussed here in Liberia. I don't know, but since I got at the Capitol building, we've never had the opportunity for us to go through the budget. And it is sad that other lawmakers from other districts, they are not cognizant about the relevance of the national budget. And I believe those who are fighting
Let me take you a little step backward. Are you saying to us that whenever we hear that the Ministry of Finance is done with the budget and it is submitted to you people at the legislature, it is all in the news, the executive has submitted the budget to the legislature, are you saying as members of that body, you don't have the opportunity to review that document?
No, you don't have the opportunity to debate the document, not to review. So to be very honest, every member will receive a copy of this draft budget. It will come to your office. So when you go through the budget and you have some issues with the budget, you maybe send it to the Ways and Means Committee. When the committee comes to report on the floor, for an example, if things that you've discovered in the budget, if you have not seen it, you should be able to discuss the budget ministry by ministry, entity by entity, or the chairs on those committees should be able to discuss the budget. The caucuses should be abreast with the budget. So when the budget is coming on the floor for final passage, it must have gone through the various caucuses. It must have gone through the various committee. But I mean, like, it's something not done in hidden. It's done in a broad daylight. And all you journalists, political commentator, everybody see this one document. Nobody talks about it. Everybody just interested in talking about 30K. But I think the issue about the national budget is something that people really need to look into. It's an alarming issue because the budget has the children, it has the women, it has the elderly, it has the trade and commerce, the natural resources. I mean, the budget has everything in it, and I feel people just not doing much with the national budget.
So how much time are you even given on the floor to discuss the issue when it is presented for discussion? How much time is allotted to maybe a lawmaker to say something about the budget?
I mean, so like that. I mean, there's no time. I mean, people just want you to concur with the budget and say like we are cool and we are good. People people just want you to concur with the budget. And if you try to raise an alarm in a budget, then you get resisted. But that's not my disappointment would be representative from various districts who will just sit supinely and will not interact in these grave issues that has to do with the budget. Also, the media personalities, the opposition figures, people who contending for the highest seat, the political parties, the secretary general, everybody should get involved in the issue about the national budget. So my point yesterday, so thank you for flagging that. And a lot of people saw me going like we were fighting because we were fighting for the country, we're fighting for the livelihood of Liberians are tied to this national budget. And so whatever decision that we making on this budget is going to affect every sector and everyone in the country. So for the fact that we are not allowed to analyze, we are not allowed to debate the budget, we are not allowed to scrutinize the budget, and the budget is just passed as it is, it should be a problem. Logically, it's a problem. How did the budget perform last year? Yeah.
And I'm told there were many people in support of that passage. So are you seen as people who are preventing the government from running? Is that how you're being considered by your colleagues when you put up this resistance?
I think it would just be out of ignorance that you would say you will prevent the government from running. I mean, everybody wants the government to run. In fact, majority of the country is dependent on the government, and so there's allocation for government just in case the budget is stalled. You do the 112 for you to analyze the budget, and the truth be told, we need to analyze the budget. I mean, like I don't think any country in the world passes budget fast as the way Liberians pass budget. If you don't have a sinister motive in a budget, then why are you preventing it from being passed? So is thank you for the opportunity that I've been heard to clarify my action yesterday on the floor. A lot of people saw me in a very different position, in a very different form, and I was just putting all of my energy and everything into fighting for that, and I needed the speaker's attention, and the speaker wasn't giving me the attention, and I was carrying the burden of almost everybody in the country at that point in time. So yeah.
Yesterday in your comments, you seem to have indicated that the budget is also allegedly being used as a tool to finance perhaps campaign activity of the president. When you talk about Ministry of Education receiving some 1.2 million over the last several years, and then close to election year, it jumps to I think 8 million or so. Is the case?
Yeah. So it jumps to 6 million, and which is unrealistic. Is highly unrealistic. But again, there's a lot of ignorant people in our country. There are a lot of people who don't care. And sadly, those who you'll be advocating for to have a better healthcare, to have a better living, they will do everything to strangulate you. They will do everything to kill you. But it is better to be judged by posterity that you stood for something, you said it. So we will be watching up for the final copy of the budget. And I mean, the budget discussion is just not on that day of passage. This is the draft budget. They're going to make the amendment that the committee did in the budget, and they are going to send the budget again. And I tell you, if lawmakers
I want to talk about some of the amendments.
I mean, there were a couple of amendments, and the official copy have not reached me yet. There were a couple of amendments, like something on the subsidy. I think that was removed because the government will always pay, or used to pay 12 to 14 million in subsidy to rice importer. At the time, the rest was $13.
Okay.
Now the rest has been, the price of rice has gone up to $17. I learned $17 or $18, meaning the Liberian people, they have adjusted, they have agreed to the imposition that you've placed on them. They didn't do anything. They didn't say anything that's one of the marvelous things that I have seen. And so it has this increase of 4 to 5%, which I think is realistic. To be very honest, I just felt the government were doing it gradually, looking at the financial constraint in the country. So there was no need again to have 12 to 14 million in our national budget for subsidy. So that was something that needed to have been struck down, and I was told it was struck down. So we have to see the committee's written amendment that we resoluted or we pass on and concur by the both houses, and we have to ensure that after this amendment has been done, those modifications have been done as to whether when the original copy comes, as to whether it will fall in line to those adjustments.
Would it be a justified thing to say that the Committee on Ways, Means and Finance is being used perhaps as a tool to accomplish the aim of the executive?
I mean, it's fair enough to say that. If you want to say that, that'll be fair enough. But they also did not join. I mean, it would be fair enough to say that, but they also did not enjoin the opposition from raising the red flags. So it's both ways. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So back to sector by sector allotment. What are some of the sectors you really would like to see government placing much emphasis and attention on in the budget?
So, like I said, our national budget is actually not very much. So, not to be like a layman to think that the budget is going to perform miracle when there's nothing much happening, but the little that we have. So, there are a few entities like the disaster management. There are a lot of disasters that go on in the country, and they are not equipped. So, when storm stuck somewhere, when fire disaster somewhere, and you run to disaster management, they tell you, Madam or Mr. Lawmaker, you pass the budget and only salary that we have here. So it's something that I would have loved to see an increment in the disaster management. We're going through election. I would have loved. Okay,
so I would have loved to. Let me take it by a little bit. So you mean?
I would have loved to see an increment in the LMP budget, because the police need to be in power. The Army Chief of Staff and the Defense Minister has been coming to the legislature for an increment in the budget, and they want to do some recruitment and the facilities there for soldiers. And when soldiers get hurt or they get injured, there's not much there for them. So there are a lot of sectors that we needed to see. Even the education, there should be more of our budget into education. I would love to see an increment in the health budget. Public work, for an example, the road is a problem. Even the East International contract with the RIA road, it is in the budget. But how much is there? I wanted to ensure that how much is in the executive mansion renovation, because that's another budget line that this one executive mansion just can finish. And my district will be benefiting from roads and other communities. So there are a lot I want to see.
Before I come back to you, let me read. There was a comment that Queen I would like to read. It's coming from Testimony Iboni Doga, is saying, voting where such president is like a worst night, and if the decision committee their dramatic attitude. Let me see if I can get another comment coming up on the page, coming from Solomon FD, that says, good afternoon, guys. I'm watching you. We started to a district in Grand Bassa County. We don't have money to buy data all of the time. So we ask you guys, very soon, point is going to be hit airways. Let me get this one coming again from my Testimony Ebony that says, voting we are as president for Liberia is one last nightmare, and if the opposition community don't come together and stop all the drama, they will forever. Okay, that was read earlier on. Oh, Madam Swakoko went off the line. I hope she can rejoin us back. I hope she can rejoin us back on the hoping she can rejoin us back. Okay. Okay. So you listen to her. The budget is not reflective in some instances of the okay, the person is asking for the lawmaker from Bonk. It's not reflective of the views and aspirations of the Liberian people. Yesterday, she was one of the float fighters in ensuring that the right thing was done on yesterday regarding the national budget. Everywhere, there is nowhere where citizens want to see development in their country and they keep their mouth closed. A society where the mouths of the people are closed is a dead society. And so on yesterday, she was one of the persons advancing the need for the right thing to be done. And I'm hoping Madam Swakoko will rejoin us back on the platform this afternoon. But again, 2023 election is just around the corner. This government, which I do believe is very capable of doing everything they can, even if it is something sinister, even if it's something that would be very devilish to have Mr. Uyari elected, this government will stop at nothing to do that. I know that very well, because for one reason is that the government has lost that level of popularity, that the image which is we once had with the Liberian people. Momentum has considerably dropped in the eyes of the people. Nothing is the reason, but the massive Desmond performance of the CDC government has been a key factor for which that level of momentum, that level of popularity has significantly dropped over the space of time. So while we are hoping to have Madam Swakoko rejoin us back, we will play a few of the teasers that we've been playing for you. When we come back, we keep expressing our thoughts on these issues that are unfolding in our country. Still with us, this is Trending Issues on Punch TV. My name is Vanny Dix. Cherio Seige is the man at the backstage, making sure that we have the visual that you are having, as well as all of the technical issues, bringing you the program Trending Issues. Stay with us as we bring you a couple of teasers, and then we rejoin you, while we're hoping that Madam Swakoko Dennis will reconnect on the platform. Stay with us.
You are barricading our police, getting access. And you can go where you belong, please. If you want you to go, you please. Explain clarity. Members of the press. Call for stealing communities reports.
you tell your owner about cash you. Anybody tell you about money, I will cash you. Take this government, help us right. You know that nobody loses. Before you go for your rules. If you go and read the rules, let them read the rules, let them go and read the rules. Let them read the rules be informed. Let the rules be informed, let them read that. Watch your government. Why is Kobe out of Africa? Because Africa is so much Kobe out of
Thank you for joining us back. So you watched the highlights of yesterday's debate up Capitol Hill, where members of that body, majority of the folks you have up Capitol Hill, Liberian people can only pray for God's intervention, that we will have leaders that have the people at heart, and not those that go there with the intention of getting themselves rich. Yesterday, people that are supposed to be representing the interests of the people, that you will go to debate or to discuss budget, and then you decide to pass the budget without having any understanding, without giving people the chance to debate the instrument. This speaks of the lack of interest when it comes to serving the people. This speaks of the fact that not many of these people have gone there with a clean intention of serving the people. How can you go to discuss issue of budget, and then you don't give people time to digest the document? And when people have concern, and then they are being prevented from raising those concerns. See some of the issues yesterday that were uncovered. Money in the budget. Maybe that was just that's just one of it that was unearthed. That you have money in the budget for an institution that does not exist. It's possible. You have monies in that budget for several other institutions that do not exist. And I didn't even want the honorable lawmaker to delve in that aspect to say maybe it was error from the typist. That was well-intentioned by those who did it. It was well-intentioned, and legal indicated these things are being done, especially while we are approaching the elections in October. It was well-intentioned that they will place money in the budget for an institution that they know do not exist. And once that fund is disbursed in whatsoever account at whatsoever banking institution, they will go there and collect it, and then they use it for a different purpose. So that was not a typographical error. This is what President Weah and his likes have been doing. Take the Liberian people money, create one institution name, put it in the budget, and say that the institution or allotment yet, and that institution not existing. Only to go and uncover that the institution does not exist. And that's what I'm saying. This is just a single case that was discovered on yesterday. And I do not buy the idea that it was a mistake. that was well thought of, that was well intentioned by whosoever did it at the Ministry of Finance. And these things are done collaboratively, even by some lawmakers who are knowledgeable. Who are knowledgeable about these things. Yeah, and they are letting us know. Okay, sorry, I was trying to communicate with Madam Swakoko Dennis so that she can rejoin us on the platform while we wrap up on this afternoon presentation. So you put money in the budget for an institution that doesn't exist, disperse the money to the banking institution, and then you go back and take that money and use it for your selfish gains. Again, elections are not stolen on the day of election. They are done days, months, and weeks ahead of the process. And all of these things are the factors that will lead to the elections being rigged. And this is why, regarding the census report that has been released, bit and pieces, we would like to call on the UNDP and other international partners to verify the authenticity, the credibility, the accuracy of the data that is being released by LISGIS. We cannot be convinced about the figures that we are seeing when the processes and procedures that led to the figures that are coming up were clouded by irregularities. And this was even substantiated by someone who was second in command at LISGIS. And you see, our society, the things that people are supposed to be discussing, sometimes we leave these things and we focus on things that are not necessary. Census data are key for several reasons. One is that it shows demographic data of a country, meaning issues like the poverty situation, issues of the living condition of the people, social amenities that are lacking, hospitals and schools that are lacking. Census reports are intended to inform policy makers as to places that interventions need to be made by the government in terms of development. Also, the census data are used to inform the state regarding issues of election. NEG will use census data to tell us a particular locality that could be deemed to be declared an electoral constituent based on the figure, the population that is coming up from that area. It is also used to determine, especially by political parties, to know their vote-rich counties, the places where they have their stronghold, and they have relevant information and say, okay, we the Unity Party people in Lofa County, our stronghold, and census data telling us that we have more people there, which tells you there is a likelihood that it's going to be in the interest of Unity Party. We, the CDC, Grand Creek County is our stronghold, the other place, and census data is revealing that you have more people there, so we are happy. So this is one reason why we need to make sure that the census data is credible and very accurate. So if that is not done, it becomes a recipe for electoral fraud. It becomes a recipe, it becomes a conduit through which the government can manipulate issues of election, which exponentially could have a negative impact, especially when the glaring reality shows that, especially this government that has become very unpopular with the people due to its poor performance under the stewardship of a man that lacks true understanding of what governance is. And people were there all saying he get love in a heart. Most time I ask people, you say someone get love, how do you vet someone's heart? How do you look at the man's heart? You don't vet people's intention. You don't vet their heart. You don't see what is there. So it is people's track record that we look at and say, yes, I can vouch for this man and say he loves the country. People were just all over the place. The man loves the country. He got a country in his heart. Even me behind the microphone, I can say that as well. But it is my track record that one has to trace, which will serve as a measurement to determine if this actually loves the country. So Madam Swakoko Dennis will be joining us back on the platform to tell us what is unfolding. But I want to bring Cherio on so we can do a little chip chat on the situation. The topical issues today, social issue, have got to do with the report on Mo Ali. We all saw some time back a young lady called Augustina Gray. This issue where it is said Mo had some intimate relationship, love affair with this person. And she alleged at the time that Mo was the father of her child. And then on today, we saw a social media being flooded with report that DNA was done. And the child in question, the report shows that Mo is not the biological, let me say it that way, biological father of the child. Even though the damage had already been inflicted on his personality, which he has to live with for the rest of his life. There were feminist groupings also that threw backlashes at Mo. It is only obvious that these very groupings will come to the stage and begin to render some level of public apologies. So Mo wrote a communication earlier today on his Facebook page. The summary of that communication by Mo Ali is that he says special statement, just a summary. He said the last several hours have been tumultuous for Abbas and his mom. The angry social media exchanges have also taken a toll on me. It has been draining, and I appeal that people refrain from deepening the mystery of an already complex matter. I also appeal that there should be no more social media exchanges with the name of the innocent child. Augustina has gone through a lot. It's been more than 22 months of bullying. She has a life to live, and I encourage everyone to just allow her to live freely. I must also state that I bear some responsibility for everything. Absolving myself from every wrongdoing will also be wrong. While it is true that we've got the DNA results with all the interpretations, we don't intend to go into the details. I consider Abbas as my child, and his sisters have developed love for him. I will continue to father the child as he remains a sole part of me. Similar treatment will be extended to the mom. This is a very intelligent young lady who I believe was exploited by unscrupulous politicians to get at me. It is high time she received the best possible moral support to realize her promising dreams. I'm reading Mo Ali's communication that was released on Facebook earlier on today. The toxicity of our politics that borders on character assassination has to stop. People like us have got the fortitude to thrive. Others may not have the required discipline and could get drowned because of this event, because of event like this. For everyone who genuinely reached out in moral support, we say thank you. Thanks for all you do. And this is the communication that was released by Mo earlier on today. Cherio, I thought to bring you on to hear from you on what is your take on this social matter.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vani, for having me again on the show. It's a great time to be with you. So, I think this is something, as per the statement read from Mo, I think this is something that every Liberians need to be careful when it comes to running with information. Because I believe when this thing started, there were a lot of social media interaction. And today, mobile branded a situation again. You know that. So there are people who are critical when it comes to the working of the government, which I respect. Big Brother Muali, from the angle of the United Party that have been speaking, that have been flagging some of those issues on how the governing process of our country been. So you observe that when you go across, when you want to extend a friendship with people, people want to use that medium to trap you, to entrap you. That's what I'm seeing with that case. All right. But as per the statement released by Big Brother Muali, I respect that a lot. And that alone shows some level of maturity. That's what I see. Because had it not been so, with regards to the DNA report, I would June support and say, oh, okay, now people say, I did this, I did that. Yes, it today. Yes, the report today. I'm not involved into it, or the child we're talking about in question. It's not my child. But yes, indeed, taking full responsibility of the child and even the mother. So that alone shows maturity. So I just want to say this to those who just run with information on social media at times when things come out. They don't do their own investigation. They just run with it and just spin lies around. So we have to be careful how we run with information. This information involving people's character is not good. So Liberians, yeah.
So always people will be used. There are some people who would allow themselves to be used as a conduit through which others will be brought down.
Based on your kind of critical stand against certain issues, based on your political alignment at times, it's obvious though.
Sure. So I remember the case which I read in history with former U.S. President Bill Clinton.
Okay.
There was a case involving him and a White House interim, one Monica Lewinsky. If you research, you will come across the Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky scandal that took place in the U.S. sometimes, I think in the 60s or so.
Okay.
But it was some time back. The young lady was working as an interim in the White House, and she was above age 21. She did consent to having an affair with Bill Clinton at the time. But at a point in time, when that speculation came up, she refused. She declined, and she said that was not true. When the report came up that, oh, Monica Lewinsky has been having an affair with Bill Clinton, she denied the allegation that came up.
Okay.
But immediately, the opponents of Bill Clinton got access to her. That was when she somersaulted and said, yes, this man and I, we had a love affair in the White House.
Okay.
And Bill Clinton had earlier said that was not true, especially when Monica Lewinsky said it was not true. So he thought to also say it was not true. So when Monica Lewinsky somersaulted, after Bill Clinton's opponent had come and influenced Monica Lewinsky's decision,
right,
and she later on said, I had an affair with the president in the White House. Several years down the line, Madame Lewinsky, a publication wherein she regretted that action, which had some dent on the image of the sitting president at the time, which could have, he almost would have been impeached by Congress at that time. So what we're saying is also in alignment with what you have said. When you are in the public space, especially when you are critical of a particular government or policy,
yeah,
you're going to have your own fair share of attacks that will come your way. They are sometimes going to be sponsored by even people from right under your nose.
Yeah.
Those people will be sponsored to do that. One of the disappointing things that I see with that is that even if that was the case, and I think it is because the young lady is inexperienced. Because an experienced person will not want to get involved with the public on a matter bordering on you carrying child for this man.
Yeah, right.
And then you want to get involved in the public in that manner, knowing that that's
a privacy though.
A future implication on the unborn child. You getting me? You are having all of the fun time with most adversaries or his opponent in the CDC, and you claim at the time to have been carrying the child of this person. So, my man,
so yeah,
obviously it tells you that if that had been the case, meaning you were creating a sour relationship even with this child and the father.
Definitely so.
You getting me?
Yeah, I understand.
To be whining and dining with the main opponent, doing everything with what's his name, Akaras Gray and others on social media, and then you say you were carrying the child of this person. Even if that had been the case, you were sowing a seed of discord between that unborn child and this person.
So when you look at it, it got serious political undertone. It was influenced by politicians, like I said, just to track him down and divert the entire attention, so the public can look at it from a different point of view. So that's why I said we have to be careful how we take information from social media, how we spin lies against people. So now the thing is, I just want to send this call out to other female that they have to be careful. Yeah, not only just female anyway, male as well. They need to be careful in pushing issue, because you are playing with your own feature and you trying to do things that people will not have trust in you. Like the case of, I don't want to really bully at all already, all right, because Mo said it clearly, and I respect his statement a lot.
Even though he doesn't have absolute authority over how social media is used by people,
right?
But he is sending out that message.
So now, even election is coming, you experience a lot of things of such coming up. There are a lot of audios that will come out against people, against politicians who will be critical against other individuals. So we just have to be careful. We have to send this message out to our sisters and our colleagues that yes, indeed, you got to be careful how you handle issue with people, because your integrity and your future. Because the thing is, Vanny, you don't know where you're going to see the person tomorrow. You allow small cash to influence you, and all these things boils down to, I can say, joblessness, bro. All right, when the environment is not too suitable that indeed young people can have, can have something to do. Little cash can fill your eyes. Somebody bring $5,000 US right now and give this. Okay, you know what I mean? I want you engage Patrick that way. All right, Patrick is a critical person. Maybe he's very critical. Not just a black man. So we're gonna give you $5,000. We'll give you one small car. You follow your apple right there. All right. So that's the reason why people go beyond and do this and doing that kind of thing. So we just have to be careful. Our sisters have to be careful how they handle issues when it comes to their personal affairs with people out there. They should not bring it to the public glare as it is now. If Mo was somebody who is not that much mature in handling issue of such by this time, probably he could take issue against that, because the first thing is that you damage my character. They say a lot of things people
you could be sued for damages.
You could be sued for that. But he let everything go, and that's where maturity comes in. And he even followed the post on social media. He found a lot of people giving commendation to him for the decision, to say, okay, I will support the child, and the child being like used to other children, his biological children, and so forth like that. Considering all of that, and considering that he even extend the system to, I think it's a great thing that Mo has done.
Yeah. So basically, the situation has been effectively handled. We can put it that way. But the situation has been effectively handled.
There are a lot of people who also commenting, and if you read our Facebook podcast, there are a lot of people asking whether we have seen the DNA report, though, and where it was done. Also, they want to know. They are so curious about it. So I know as time goes back more, we want to have some conversation with him on this. Probably just for 5 minutes, so just talk about it. Not today, maybe some day to come.
I'm still wondering what could push him to do that, because if Mo had actually plan on doing such. I think now that the matter is hot in the air, that would have been the time at which he would choose to do that. But I think like it is on his page. He has elected not to do so. And we are saying it is the level of maturity you are looking at. Elections will be held in a couple of months from now. You have to also be careful how you don't want to inflame situation. You don't want to be in the news for the wrong negative reason. The Liberian people love G's. That one thing I know. The Liberian people love G's. Whenever this information hit the public space, it is greeted with so much interest from every quarters, both the ones in the diaspora.
Everyone wants to make that social media page active.
Everybody. So the case now is that Mo Ali has effectively handled the situation.
Situation that he could not handle at the time.
The situation has been, the DNA has helped for the situation.
That's a good one though.
The DNA has helped for the situation to be effectively handled. But Cherio, before we wind down this afternoon, there were a couple of issues that you heard me talk about, ranging from the census to that of schools of audit reports that are said to be on the desk of President Weah, which he's given blatant, flagrant ignorance to. He has refused to pay attention to those audit reports, even though they are revealing that taxpayers' monies are being looted by the folks right under his eyes, folks within his cycle. But yet the president does nothing about those reports that are before him. Also, you did listen to Madam Suakoko Dennis regarding the budget that faces no tight scrutiny. Debate around that budget seem not to be coming forth, but yet you have members of the body of the legislature that will go about passing such a budget. I thought I should just
so let me just chip in a little bit because time is out already. So I think this is where Liberians need to be very careful. Liberians need to away from both sides and digest the reality that we are confronted with as a people. We listened to a key member of the legislature on a Clarence Massacre some days ago on the platform when you talk about some of these early reports. And up to now, Vanny, you're still in the trash can and hasn't been, those involved, who've been involved, allegedly involved into the kind of financial malpractices have not been brought to book. So that alone speaks to you that there are a lot of things happening behind the scene. So it's where Liberians need to be careful. And it's good that these lawmakers come out and start speaking those things sooner for Liberians to actually know what's happening. Because if they don't come out to speak it out, we would not know. Because the issue of freedom of information is something, bro. You go somewhere to one ministry for that information, they will never go to you. You will walk and get tired. So as he's speaking, he's from the house. They say when two chickens walking in, the other one run from under the grass, you will know that something happened there. Now that chicken that came around that grass can tell you what happened in there, you believe it. So if a member of the House of Rep is coming to say these are things that we are front at, we have said this, and nothing has happened, Liberians need to be careful. Election is coming. People will come to you. And again, to the issue of the budget yesterday, I saw on the Dennis on the floor alone, Yeke Kodoba, Robert Womboy from Bond County. The raised issue that there were school or institution mentioned in the budget that does not exist, but you put money in the budget for them. And our lawmakers in that place, I watched the video, and most of them sat so panicked without even saying anything, because probably it was not in their interest. But if you go in that place, whatever that been raised by that is not in the best interest of every Liberian, not only your district, it should be the concern of every lawmakers. But few lawmakers stood up and they raised that issue. Some of them sat down there. Nothing was said, and that budget just went easy yesterday. So I think it's a great job that she's doing, but I think there are a lot of lawmakers who need to put their heat up and ensure that but it's done already. When they say this, that's government. All right. So when people coming to you that support me, vote me, these are critical questions you guys should be asking, the ability to, weigh, some of those issues when it come before them. Yeah.
So that's just it. The budget, like I will always say, the budget is the single most important instrument upon which the lives of every citizen hang upon. So this is one reason why when it is being discussed, it has to be discussed with some level of thorough scrutiny, making sure that due diligence are accorded to everything that must be done, must be done to ensure that it is a reflection of what the people want. So again, if the budget does not reflect what the people want, that budget is not going to achieve the purpose. So on yesterday, we witnessed how forceful Madam Dennis and Yeke Kolba and a few other guys were regarding the budget to be debated upon, and that did not seem to have happened on yesterday. Few people in that meeting, my brother, they only there
self-interest
just for amassing wealth. This is key, and they themselves know. But the key thing is that they try to be like, you won't be mature to cover your friend part. That when they say, "Oh, what you see, what your man is," we all get this expectation high. But they themselves in the background, they will tell you that some of our guys that we have there that we're working with, they're only there for the cash. They're only there to receive the brown envelope. So how can you have even a legislature that will submit 15 other reports to President Weah? Weah refuses to add upon those reports,
and nobody can.
And you have poor oversight to make sure
no one can put in the check at this time.
Yeah, there has to be that issue where you make sure that the executive feels the impact, the robust impact of the legislature. But that again, maybe it's going to happen in a new Liberia, not the Liberia where you have members who are always focused on the issue of brown envelope. Cheryl, just lastly, so we can just go home on this edition.
Yeah, so folks, I appreciate being here, and it's a good time. Those of you who've been joining us, Punch is here for you. We are here to give you the best information. Like Solomon D said, he said, "Look, guys," let me just read a comment quickly. He said, "Look, you guys can really give good and very important information, and I hope that the radio station will be on soon." Okay, so that's it, Solomon. We are working out things that shortly the station will be on. But Vani, has been a good time with you. Tomorrow we're going to be here again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cherio. This is it. This is Punch TV. Okay. This is Punch TV. The program has been trending issues. My name is Vani Dix. Kindly make sure that you share the videos in all of the platforms that you are connected to. Share the videos. Punch TV is here to stay. The radio will be on in no time. You're going to wake up one morning and then we tell you tune in to Punch FM. Until we are here on tomorrow, where Damos Langa is going to bring you tomorrow's presentation. My name is Vani Dix. I'd like to say thank you so very much to our viewers, those that commented, those that just passed by. Thank you so much. It has been a wonderful and a pleasant time. Until I talk to you is when I talk to you. Bye-bye from my end.
So when you go to school,